Here comes a guy who is so full of this new age stuff.
If they equate Cosmic Carlos with something that they don't understand because they're too much in the frequency.
Carlos Santana stands as one of the most respected names in guitar music. This Mexican-American guitarist brought Latin rhythms into rock and roll music, making his Fender Stratocaster produce sounds filled with both energy and emotion. For more than 50 years, he has created some of the most recognizable guitar sounds in music history. Santana has always been open about the musicians who influenced him. His spiritual way of thinking about music and his deep respect for the guitar have made him someone who speaks thoughtfully about what makes great guitar playing. He once said that the guitar is like a voice, and every great guitarist has something different to say. According to Santana, his 5 favorite players didn't just play musical notes, they brought divine energy through their instruments. For someone who has built his career on bringing that same spiritual energy to music, his choices of favorite guitarists carry real meaning. These influences range from blues legends who shaped his early playing to jazz musicians who opened up new musical ideas for him. Santana's list shows the many different types of music that helped create his unique sound. These aren't just technically skilled players, they're spiritual guides who showed Carlos that the guitar could be used for something greater than just entertainment. 5th place. Wes Montgomery. At number 5 on Carlos's list is jazz guitar legend Wes Montgomery. Montgomery's new approach to playing guitar opened up completely new possibilities for the young Santana. Carlos first heard Montgomery's music in the mid-1960s when he was still developing his own style in San Francisco. Carlos spent hours listening to Montgomery's albums, particularly The Incredible Jazz Guitar and Smoking at the Half Note. According to people who worked with Santana, Carlos would say that Montgomery made every note count. Their wedge. No waste and no showing off, just pure musical conversation. What especially interested Santana about Montgomery was how he used octaves and played with his thumb instead of using a traditional pick. Santana said that Montgomery showed him the guitar could be like an orchestra, playing melody, harmony, and rhythm all at the same time while making it sound completely natural. Montgomery's influence became even stronger when Santana began mixing jazz elements into his Latin rock music. Montgomery's approach to chord structures and melodic phrases helped Carlos develop his distinctive style of playing long, sustained notes. When Santana plays a long, sustained note, he channels what Montgomery taught him about making each note sacred. Even though Montgomery was mainly known as a jazz guitarist, Carlos believes his contributions to music go far beyond just one style. Santana has said that Montgomery didn't just play jazz, he played joy. He showed Carlos that technical skill means nothing without emotional truth. For Carlos, Montgomery represents the perfect balance between technical excellence and spiritual expression. He was a guitarist who proved that great skill serves its highest purpose when it becomes a way of touching the human soul. 4th place. Gabor Szabo. At number 4 is Hungarian jazz guitarist Gabor Szabo, whose exotic approach to guitar and willingness to blend Eastern musical ideas with Western instruments gave Carlos an important musical blueprint for his own cross-cultural explorations. Santana discovered Szabo's music in the late 1960s through producer Clive Davis, who played him Szabo's album Dreams during discussions about Carlos's musical direction. Carlos was immediately struck by Szabo's use of modal scales and unusual tunings. According to his manager, Carlos called at 2 a.m. after hearing that album and said Szabo was doing what he had been, trying to figure out, making the guitar speak different languages. What particularly connected with Santana was Szabo's way of incorporating Hungarian folk melodies and Indian classical music concepts into jazz frameworks. Szabo showed Carlos that the guitar could be a bridge between cultures, proving that you didn't have to choose between your heritage and contemporary music. You could honor both. The connection grew stronger when the two musicians met at a club in Los Angeles in 1969. According to jazz journalist Leonard Feather, who saw the meeting, Sabo told the young Santana that his guitar already knew how to cry in Spanish, and now he should teach it to laugh in other languages too. This advice stuck with Carlos throughout his career. Sabo's influence can be heard throughout Santana's work, particularly in his use of Eastern-influenced scales and his approach to building tension through repetitive hypnotic phrases. When Santana plays songs like Europa, he uses techniques that Sabo taught him about making the guitar meditative. For Santana, Sabo represents fearless musical exploration that goes beyond boundaries. He was a guitarist who proved that authenticity comes from honoring all your influences rather than limiting yourself to one tradition. Third place, B.B. King. In the number 3 position is the undisputed king of the blues himself, B.B. King. His emotional directness and masterful vibrato technique gave Carlos Santana the emotional foundation for his entire approach to playing guitar. Carlos first saw B.B. King perform at the Fillmore West in San Francisco in 1967, an experience he has described as life-changing. The moment B.B. played his first note, Santana understood that the guitar wasn't just an instrument. It was a voice for everything you couldn't say with words. King's guitar, Lucille, was crying, laughing, preaching, and praying all at the same time. What particularly influenced Santana was King's pH, philosophy that one note can say more than 1,000 notes. According to former Santana band members, Carlos would often reference this concept during recording sessions. He would stop the band in the middle of a solo and ask if they were playing notes or actually saying something meaningful. B.B. King had taught him the difference. The relationship between the two guitarists grew into deep mutual respect over the decades. King once told Santana backstage at a concert that he had taken what King did and made it speak Spanish, which was beautiful. Carlos treasured this comment and would reference it when discussing his approach to sustain and vibrato. B.B. King's influence is perhaps most evident in Santana's use of sustained, crying guitar lines and his emphasis on emotional expression over technical showing off. King showed Carlos that the space between the notes is where the soul lives. When Santana bends a string, he tries to reach that sacred space that King taught him about. For Santana, B.B. King represents the pure emotional power of the blues, a reminder that all technical ability must serve the deeper purpose of human connection and spiritual expression. Second place, John McLaughlin. In second place is fusion pioneer John McLaughlin, whose blazing technical skill and spiritual approach to music pushed Carlos Santana to new levels of both virtuosity and consciousness. Their connection began in the early 1970s when both guitarists were exploring the intersection of rock, jazz, and Eastern philosophy through their music. McLaughlin's work with Miles Davis and his own Mahavishnu Orchestra captivated Santana, who saw in the British guitarist a kindred spirit seeking transcendence through music. According to jazz fusion historians, the two guitarists first met at a spiritual retreat in the mid-1970s, where they bonded over their shared interest in meditation and Stern philosophy. What particularly impressed Santana about McLaughlin was his ability to combine lightning-fast technique with deep spiritual intention. McLaughlin showed Carlos that speed and soul aren't opposites. When McLaughlin plays impossibly fast runs, he's not showing off but channeling divine energy at light speed. This mutual influence led to their collaboration on the album Love, Devotion, Surrender in 1973, where they explored spiritual teachings through their guitars. Making that record taught Santana that two guitars could create something bigger than either player could achieve alone. They weren't competing, they were communing. McLaughlin's influence pushed Santana to expand his technical vocabulary while maintaining his emotional core. McLaughlin's playing reminded Carlos that virtuosity serves its highest purpose when it becomes a vehicle for love. For Santana, McLaughlin represents the perfect fusion of Eastern spirituality and Western musical innovation, proof that the guitar can be both a technical instrument and a tool for expanding consciousness. First place, Jimi Hendrix. Taking the crown as Carlos Santana's favorite guitarist of all time is the cosmic innovator himself, Jimi Hendrix. His revolutionary approach to the electric guitar showed Carlos that the instrument could be a gateway to infinite musical possibilities. Santana first witnessed Hendrix's power at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967, where both were relatively unknown artists about to change music forever. Watching Hendrix set his guitar on fire that night, Carlos realized he was seeing the future of rock and roll. Hendrix didn't just play the guitar, he became one with it and through it with the universe itself. What particularly revolutionized Santana's approach was Hendrix's use of feedback, distortion, and effects as musical elements rather than just sonic textures. According to Santana's and engineers, Carlos spent months after Monterey experimenting with different amplifier settings, trying to capture that Hendrix magic. Hendrix showed Carlos that the amplifier is part of the instrument. The whole setup has to sing together. The influence went beyond technical innovation to philosophical transformation. Hendrix's fearless experimentation and willingness to push boundaries inspired Santana's own genre-blending approach. Hendrix proved that there are no rules when you're channeling divine energy. If it feels right spiritually, it is right musically. Their brief personal friendship before Hendrix's death in 1970 left a lasting impact on Santana. According to music journalists, Hendrix told Carlos backstage at a concert to keep pushing the boundaries because the guitar wants to take musicians to places they haven't imagined yet. This advice became a guiding principle for Santana's entire career. Even decades later, Santana continues to reference Hendrix's influence. He has said that every time he plugs in his guitar, he's honoring what Hendrix started. Hendrix showed all guitarists that the electric guitar could be a spiritual instrument, a tool for touching the divine. For Carlos Santana, Jimi Hendrix represents the ultimate fusion of technical innovation, spiritual seeking, and fearless creativity. He was the guitarist who proved that when you surrender completely to the music, magic happens. Conclusion: these 5 guitarists shaped the musical soul of Carlos Santana. From blues masters to fusion pioneers, each brought something essential to Carlos's cosmic guitar philosophy. Together, they demonstrate how diverse influences from different musical traditions can combine to create something entirely new and spiritually meaningful. Their impact on Santana shows how great musicians don't just play notes, they channel something deeper through their instruments, touching both the performer and the listener in profound ways.